Welcome to Alligator Preserves, everyone. I'm Laurel McHargue, host of your show today. And I have, oh my gosh, I always have special guests, but this guest is from Canada, all the way from Canada. You are going to meet a wonderful artist, an all around person today. Her name is Darlene Kulig. So don't go anywhere. Darlene, welcome to Alligator Preserves.
Thank you, Laurel, for having me.
I am absolutely delighted to share with the world how we met, what you're doing, because you're doing some absolutely fabulous things from what I have learned. I did a little research about you, if that was okay. And I know you
Yeah.
were originally from Ottawa and you moved to Toronto to study at the Ontario College of Art and Designs, where you won one of 6 students to win an award on your outstanding potential in visual arts, graduating as an associate of the Ontario College of Art and Design. So
Yeah.
I see behind you, as you probably see behind me and around me, some
Yeah.
beautiful things. I think
Yeah.
we have a lot in common.
Yeah. Beauty is a wonderful thing too. Yeah. Passionate thing to
It is for sure. So I want to let everyone know, first of all, how we met. And I think you started it. And so I want to know how did you find the book Piece by Piece, 10 Lessons from a Jigsaw Puzzle, which I wrote with my friend Nadine Collier. How did you find this? Do you
That's a
remember?
really interesting question. But I know I found it. I don't
you,
know.
you
I
found,
forget sometimes, but I jump on it. I somehow through maybe the puzzling community,
yes.
because they are voracious sharers.
Yes.
Maybe.
I
So
think so. So I all of a sudden I saw this wonderful bit from you that you had read this and you enjoyed it, and could you send me a puzzle? And of course I'm like, well, yes, of course you can send me a puzzle. And how
I
about
do
my
that
friend?
often. I random gift, and it's been the most magical thing. What grows from that?
Yes, yeah, and I do the same with my books, and it
Yeah.
really is amazing. I give away so many things, which I think is just a good thing to do. But I asked you, of course, well, could you send one to my friend Nadine too, since she
Of
wrote this book
course.
with me? And so I was actually in Michigan, went to Chicago to see an Elton John concert with Nadine over her birthday weekend. And by the time we got back to her house, the puzzle that you had sent her was already there outside Vienna.
At Vienna, yes.
Yes. And so we opened that. And oh my goodness, what I still need to do is post the videos of the two of us working on that. Because let me tell you, these are challenging puzzles.
Yes, that is my most challenging of the 5 titles with pomegranate.
And so what makes a what makes a puzzle most challenging in your
I,
perspective?
I think it is the amount of detail with similar values of color. So there's a lot of flowers, the huge flower fields in that puzzle.
Yes. Yes, we struggled, and I didn't complete it before I had to go home, and she completed it and sent me some videos. But when I got home, Gustav's cat was waiting for me,
That's my first
and
puzzle. Yeah.
I absolutely had a blast doing it. So that's kind of how we met, and it was
Yeah.
wonderful. So you're are you a puzzler?
I have to say I am not.
Okay.
I make paintings for puzzlers. I actually did buy for myself a Frank Stella puzzle because you'll get to know me through the nerds, right? I've got a connection with the puzzle nerds.
Yes.
So they opened a shop. So sorry, I have to move around.
Move around, absolutely move
Oh,
around.
I'm
Because
going to do this one
oh,
because I couldn't bear to do my own puzzles. That would just be, I don't know, strange. But my husband, who's not a puzzler, has done every one of my puzzles. Only does my puzzles. So
that he's a keeper.
he's a keeper. Yep.
Oh my goodness. So you're a painter first, right?
Graphic designer
A
first.
graphic designer first. So how did you go from graphic design? You're talking on computer, on tech stuff?
Right. When I left OCAD and needed to pay rent and, make a life that had things. that cost money. So I started my own graphic design studio after about 4 years working um, for a gentleman from Montreal. Yeah, and about 20 years I did that, and it was a great career. It allowed me to be flexible raising a family. It really built my toolbox, right? I had a great, yeah, 20 years with corporate work, problem solving, working with clients. It was excellent.
So that's what you did before you started painting. And I think I read somewhere you started painting just 10 years ago.
Well, probably longer than that. I mentioned to you that we lost a dear friend, Cynthia Stelgis, to cancer about 16 years ago. And I took care of her. We were both women artists and women business entrepreneurs. And she encouraged me to not forget that I had art to create rather than just a business to run. And at that point, our kids were older, life was pretty steady and stable. I was able to move away from the graphic design and then find my beautiful signature work through needing to grieve her. And I encourage people to, with loss, to move through it and find joy. So Cynthia's in my brush every day.
That's beautiful. I have a friend in Israel whose mother has Alzheimer's, and she has a blog called The Lost Kitchen.
Uh,
And you know, with this being Hanukkah, she talks about lighting a candle every day and how it reminds her that darkness can be vanquished.
yeah. Well, joy and grief can go coexist. Light and dark can coexist. It's finding that space to allow both. It's a tricky thing, but certainly art, writing, something that you can express yourself is really powerful.
Mhm. Now, I follow you. I follow you on Instagram, and I think everybody out there should. And for those of you who are just listening to the audio, you really need to jump over to my YouTube page and see this in video because you're going to see this tremendous artwork that Darlene creates. But this morning, I looked at a post of yours and you were painting, and you said that it's a challenge to find a quiet place to balance with the activity. And at first I thought you meant a quiet place as in your studio, but I heard piano music in the background. But then I realized you were talking about a quiet place in your art.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, the Japanese concept of ma is emptiness with presence. So my work is so vibrant, so colorful that I need to create pauses. And if anyone is a musician, I mean, the powerful quality of a rest in music is equivalent to finding a quieter space in a painting.
Same.
And so be my studio, quite frankly, it is. It's to be interpreted as you wish, right? On so many levels. Just that peaceful kind of space. Yeah.
All right. Same thing with writing. You can only do so much with dialogue or with exposition or until you need to give the reader a break, a time to reflect, a little comedic interlude if something's very heavy. Same.
Absolutely. A lot of overlap. I mean, one of my biggest tools, as with Frank Lloyd Wright, is rhythm. So I create, as he did, pattern was powerful for him, but movement and momentum and speed and then pause. And then, so rhythm is amazing in a story, a movie, and in a painting.
Your work is described as semi-abstract spiritual landscape, and each painting is dotted with your signature effervescent champagne bubbles. Now, when I first saw the bubbles that you have here, um, I didn't see them as champagne bubbles. So Who decided they were champagne bubbles? I actually saw some avocados in there.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was sort of the initial genesis of the champagne bubble. I don't know if I quite hit it there. It came into being more so in outside Vienna.
Okay. Yes.
And honestly, I'm gonna flip you around if you're okay
Flip
here.
me around. And again, if you're just listening, you got to check this out because we're going to have a little bit of a studio tour here.
Yeah. So these champagne bubbles, these are my pickle people from Troon, Scottsdale. They can be stars. They can be sort of bubbles moving around. Again, kind of musical too, right?
Yes.
In space. They are my magical energy from a yoga retreat. And
Ah,
of course, they've got to be snow.
yes.
Yeah. So it's a graphic device um, that the story with the outside Vienna is that I was on my own. This is my train ride, high speed from Prague to Vienna on my own. I left my husband in Prague on business. I didn't leave my husband. I always have to clarify that. No children, they were all adults. So I treated myself. I went to Vienna and I stayed at the Meridian, Le Meridian, and they had a Moet a champagne cafe on the main floor. So I sat there on my own with my glass of champagne, photographing the Ringstrasse and the streetcars, and there were bubbles going up in my glass. And that was it. It was like freedom and effervescence and just everything then had the champagne bubble.
And release.
It's rising up, it's awakening. It represents so many wonderful things in even Buddhist teachings, which I did a lot of reading through COVID to rise up. So I think it suits my work and just who I am beautifully.
And it is a signature piece. It's something that people will recognize once they start following you
That's
and
right.
buying your projects and having fun with them. You said that when you travel, you take hundreds of photos because, we get to the inspiration, right? You've gone to different places. The champagne gave you the inspiration for the bubbles. How do you, from hundreds of paintings, from hundreds of photos, how do you choose which one to do a large work of art from?
Oh, that's interesting. I feel the spirit of the place. So whatever photograph, even if it's just a piece of the spirit, if that makes sense, because I'm not a I don't want to be a camera and reproduce a photograph.
Right.
It might even just be the photo that in that moment I felt or something happened in terms of my experience of the place.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the beauty of these iPhones. You can snap forever. And I sort of piece together things of the journeys that I go on.
And on your website, you'll see the piece that you've created and the photo that was your inspiration. And I found that fascinating because in some there's the house with some flowers in the front, and then your piece, the flowers are
Yeah, blow them up.
bigger and they take over, and the house is definitely there. But yeah, this
Yeah, I got to make it interesting. I'm a gardener as well. I'm a baker. I like Maurice Sondak's work, Where the Wild Things
oh
Are,
yes, yeah.
Night Kitchen. I actually saw an opera that he designed the sets, Hansel and Gretel, which was amazing. But it's almost like he pipes out his illustrations, and I almost feel that way in terms of what I'm working on. It's almost as if it's just oozy and drippy and doughy and just
Yes. And so
gooey and
what you're showing us now, you say you always start with a dark canvas. So
yes.
show us a little bit of your process because this one that you're showing us now, do you have a title for this one? Is this your
Uh,
penguin one?
Penguin pilgrimage, something to do with pilgrimage. And around this time of the year, I tend to do stuff that maybe has a bit of a magi, the three kings, the coming to a special birth, rebirth, something.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a pilgrimage aspect to this one for sure. This was my girlfriend, well, one of my bridesmaids. It was her dream cruise to the Antarctica that she just got back from, and penguins have always been her little sweet thing. Everything from my friend Cuddy has penguins, so I'm kind of doing this for me, and I'm doing it also from her reference.
Okay.
So yeah, I riff off of stuff that I see that moves me, and away I go.
So you have that dark, I saw that dark brown canvas, and then on that, is it chalk? What do you?
Yes, so I then chalk up with, and again, this process evolved. I chalk it up. I then use a wet rag to remove lines and to edit it as I see fit. I'm learning now less is more. And then, as Matisse said, one of my favorite quotes is, I don't paint things, I paint the difference between things. So I literally paint on either side of that brown line that you can probably still see. There
Yes.
is that brown line in there.
Mm-hmm.
So there again, you can see my canvas in there that is, it ties everything together.
Yes.
So it's like adult coloring. Everything is all there. I just fill in the shapes with color.
You certainly do, and it makes it, as a puzzler, it makes it difficult, really difficult, because so many of the things are similar and fuzzy. There are no really clean, hard edges.
That Gustav's was probably again the earliest before I really got into more of an outline, a more clear, defined shape. So that one was more difficult for a different reason, Gustav's cat. But there's a funny story about, well, my favorite story about Gustav's cat was, it was the first puzzle done by a young married couple, newlyweds in pandemic, out of Washington. So they'd never done a puzzle. Out of all the puzzles, I can't even believe that people find my work. He reached out to me and bought Gustav's cat the painting, which I believe paintings wait for their owners, their forever home.
Yeah.
And then in pandemic, he commissioned Balloon Ride in the Tatra Mountains, which is the cover of my wall calendar and also a birthday card. So he commissioned that as a surprise gift for his wife, as I think it was their second anniversary.
Beautiful.
So not a painting I ever would have imagined doing. However, I mean, people really relate to it. And we've become kind of friends. He actually just sent me a note. He's taken on a job as a liaison in the energy sector in Calgary. So they've got a huge, giant Laurel. They've got a giant puzzle table at this big energy company. So he just placed an order this morning for me to send my puzzles to his new place of employment in Calgary.
I want to work for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, a big puzzle table. And the thing about puzzles is it uses both sides of your brain, divergent and convergent. So there's something really clever about what it gives us,
Okay.
right? It gives us a bit of progress, a bit of dopamine, just getting your brain into that problem solving mode. Once you leave the puzzle, you actually are more effective in whatever challenge you might have on your desktop.
Oh.
So there's a reason that people do these things.
Right. Other than, OCD, which
That might be in there. Yeah.
you can become a bit. And again, I think the idea of having a puzzle and having that project, in addition to, finding that piece that fits and it just feels so good, is that you can complete it.
Yes.
And
we all want a sense of progress. Yes.
A relatively short period of time, depending on if you're working it yourself or working it with someone else.
Well, here's another thing. I had a puzzler pair in a puzzling competition. This is a thing. There were 20 pairs, so 20 teams, and they came in sixth. And I love people take the time to send me this. This was wrapped tight, so no one could see it. So I don't know. the word go, they ripped open their package. 20 pairs, 40 people did this puzzle. Her team with her mom, they came in sixth. Their time was, I believe, 50 minutes, 22 seconds. The winning time was 36 minutes.
Wait, was it 1,000 pieces?
500.
500. Okay. Wow,
But
that's
still.
still that's still really good.
Oh,
Because
gosh.
I was never really a puzzle until Nadine, decided we were going to do one of her visits with me. And she is a prolific puzzler, and boy, does she see things. And she showed me the spatula method of if you're working on something outside the frame, you can then lift it and place it, and just
it's a whole thing, man. They actually take, like, doing the 100-meter dash. They will do exercises to flip, 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 turn. It's pretty serious.
and the sorting and all of that. Yeah, it's wonderful. Some people will never do the same puzzle twice. I definitely will. I mean, I will definitely do this one again. There are puzzles I will definitely do again because they're just delightful and so much fun, and you love to see the finished product, bigger than even just looking at it on the box. So
The story of that puzzle too was that that's Emily Floge on the front. She was a fashion designer back in Vienna and Gustav Klimt's lifelong partner. So she, with her sister and mother, ran a fashion house before the war. In her own right, she was a bohemian entrepreneur goddess who introduced trousers to women.
oh,
So
wow.
now you get that puzzle from a whole other, and of course she was caretaker because she's trying to put Gustav's cat while he's busy in the studio. So
Took me a while to find the cat.
yeah.
That was fun. You tell me about when you were commissioned to travel by train and paint the mountains for a Canadian Rocky series.
That
Tell me
was
about that adventure. That sounds fabulous.
bucket list. Um, Believe it or not, my yoga teacher who inspired that painting, that's actually Cynthia. She's the tree.
Oh,
And works for Rocky Mountaineer. And I think it was my husband that suggested, why don't you pitch the idea of riding the trains and painting? And it took a while, and we got that to happen. It was absolutely remarkable. And from that painting series, again, my publisher sees that's the painting that hangs in the head office of Rocky Mountaineer. It's the bridge across the Fraser River. So you can see there's a Rocky Mountain train there.
oh,
So there actually were several paintings that they got to. I did a whole series, which mostly they have all sold.
and you were on the train alone? Did you take this trip alone?
My husband came with me, so we had started out in Vancouver, rode the Gold Leaf service, which was phenomenal. Photographed the entire journey, and somewhere in here actually are all my sketches that I did for the Rocky Mountaineer. Yeah, so basically I presented them with sketches from the entire journey, starting with the little general store. There's the sketch for that card you just saw.
That's a gorgeous sketch. I mean, that
I know. I hear you on that. So I actually saved these. I found them again. So I think they got this painting. Anyway, there's so many paintings. There's hikers in here at Agnes Lake. We hiked up to the tea house. So I chronicled, just as you would use language and words, I did a picture, a little line drawing in chronicling the entire journey from Vancouver to Banff is where we ended up. And then we drove to Lake Louise.
Did you do the line drawings without photographs or from photographs?
I just clicked the whole way through and had hundreds of photographs to go through.
Amazing. I think you also have a little bit of a Dr. Seuss quality in your
I love the I love him. I had a gentleman at the McMichael Gallery here outside of Toronto look at my work. There was an event there, and he stood back and he just said, Dr. Seuss meets Emily Carr. And okay, I can live with that.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love it. So, and again, whimsical and all that. I can't believe you haven't done any of your own puzzles. Um,
I help when my husband gets stuck. How about that? It's kind of weird. It's weird doing your own work. Yes, so I'll do this. I'll do the Stella, and I've done a couple other strange puzzles that the nerds gave me because they've got a real line of puzzles.
Okay. You do these gorgeous cards, greeting cards too. I mean, you have so many things that people who want to get to know you better can get in on. And as you see, if you can see my calendar
Yes,
back
there's.
here, I've already got January filled out. This is
Oh
your
my.
2023 calendar, and it's beautiful.
Yes, the
And
balloon
yeah, I
and the
mean,
for January. Those are my children as icebergs. I have painted my children as dogs, as cows. I've also done portraits of all my children as well.
not as animals.
And animals. Yes, no, that is truly they exist as cows and dogs and icebergs. So
How do they feel about that?
they're okay. They yeah, it's mom, sure.
So I read somewhere that you are planning your next travel destination for a new series.
Oh, it's a challenge is picking which trip. We're thinking Iceland to see the Northern Lights, which would be March. I would love to do a driving trip from Taos, New Mexico, through to San Diego. Um, uh, uh, I want actually to. We're going to drive to see Mount Robson. That's a must see for a Canadian painter. Lauren Harris painted Mount Robson. It's the highest peak in the Rockies.
Okay. Well, what about the highest peak in Colorado Rockies?
I'd come down. People often invite me if they've got a beautiful space that they love, place that they love, or send me pictures. I've actually got friends in Denver, so that is on my list of places to go.
Well, that's right up the road. It's just a 2 hour jaunt from where I am. And we have the Sawatch Mountain Range in our front
Oh,
yard. And
beautiful.
they are glorious. So you don't know exactly where you're going next? I would love to go to Iceland as well, my husband and I both.
In the challenge, we chose to get a puppy, which is fine. So leaving him is a little bit of a challenge. And then might be that it's going to be a driving trip. Believe it or not, in COVID, we delivered a commission for a twin here in Mississauga commissioned Waterton Park, and her twin in Lethbridge, Alberta. She was a judge, commissioned a larger version of that painting. So we were so bored. We drove across the country to deliver this painting. And it was remarkable. It was unbelievable to do that. So driving trips are great.
I agree. And yeah, talk about service. Holy mackerel, that's pretty darn
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And it's funny, she was tricky to sort of connect with, well, we're coming, right? When are you going to be? She wasn't even there. Her assistant let us come through the courthouse to deliver this painting. It was quite funny.
What's the largest canvas you've ever done?
Oh, commission of the prairies that was, I think, 42 by 84.
Ooh, that's big.
Got to be wide if you're doing the prairies.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Oh my gosh, I want to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
Where would be, I'm assuming you're happy living where you're living now. If you could live, paint, be, work anywhere in the universe, where would it be?
Oh, I mean, this is home. It's been home for a long time. I don't know, East Coast, we're getting a vibe of maybe heading out there and exploring New Brunswick, maybe a place. I don't know.
My
But
dad,
Canada, so much beauty in this glorious country.
absolutely. My dad was born in New Brunswick. He wasn't even nationalized till he was over in World War II, which is kind of
Uh,
cool. I'm planning, along with Nadine, my friend, and her daughter Sarah, we are going to Prince Edward Island in the fall. And the goal is to make our way all the way around it. So I was looking at your Prince Edward Island series as well.
well, PEI, my husband's sister has a place there, a beautiful spot. And there's something so restorative about that island. And I've got an art consultant out of the States who has my work in the Mayo Clinic. And the Mayo actually commissioned a huge pair of my PEI pieces that hang in the hematology department. So hopefully people can just sort of bring down their breathing. And yeah, I think my work does both. It can calm you and it can also elevate you.
Excite,
So
yeah, and
yeah.
inspire for sure. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it because again, we lived in Leadville for 12 years and at 10,200 feet elevation. Here in Salida, I think we're at about 74,000 feet. Prince Edward Island is going to be sea level. So I could probably just jog around the whole 400 and however many miles of it, in a couple days. That's,
There you go. And yeah, it's a beautiful island, beautiful people.
yeah. So I'm guessing you've never been bored in your life.
Oh, sure. Boredom is a great thing.
Oh, is it? Tell me about boredom.
Well, boredom really lets you see yourself and maybe explore and kind of figure out what's making you tick or not tick. And learning to be okay with just staying a little quiet. It's a good thing. And then when you're really bored, then I'm really ready to paint.
I
So it's
get I get that.
yeah, it's a really necessary break.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I've actually felt bored since I was really young. I remember summer vacations, loved summer vacations from school, but always couldn't wait to get back to school. I guess that's kind of like what you're saying.
You need breaks, you need rests. Absolutely. You can't see your life if you don't take a little bit of a breather from it,
Yeah. Mhm.
which is what travel, the Dalai Lama says you must leave your life and then see it with fresh eyes.
Right. Maybe that's why COVID has hit us to make everybody stay home and just
Oh,
isolate a little
well, it
for travel.
forced me to definitely go inward. And a big part of my practice now is the letting go paddles. I don't know if you looked at those.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's based off of a book I read. I don't know if you've seen this one, Laurel, Letting Go.
No, I have not.
Okay, so for all those years, oh, let it go. How? So the book is literally a mechanism to find courage, willingness, reasoning, all those things above in a positive place. So I'd done paddles for charities, Camp Ooch, Cancer Camp for Kids. And I'd never thought to do them for the public until I read the book. So these are beautiful oars with, they're pretty.
They're
And then
gorgeous.
my signature stripes. But the back is my rising champagne bubble. Literally, the back is a meditation paddle. So you can go inward and sort of try and rise up and find courage. Maybe get to here. Willingness. The Buddha lived at the top of the paddle, and people live in such a narrow bandwidth, maybe fearful, finding, just bogged down with a lot of negative emotion. So COVID allowed me to look at that and really release myself from a lot of that.
This would probably be a good time to talk about Craig Kulig.
Yes, yes. We lost our nephew, Craig. Gosh, again, I guess it's 6 years ago. You lose track.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, so he was 23, and it was a horrible thing to witness as anyone who's lost a loved one to cancer. And my son, Kurt, is the same age as Craig, so we are grateful. So my brother Bruce has a fundraising goal of $100,000 to fund cancer research at the Ottawa Hospital. So through COVID, a wonderful mask maker found me, and it was sort of one of these, do I want to do it? And she said, every artist I've approached is doing it for a charity. And I said, I'm in. Craig Kulig Memorial Fund. We raised about $24,000. Everything went to Ottawa Hospital. I'm now partnered with them. The next thing, if we can get it off the ground, is going to be wearable art.
Mm-hmm.
That's mountain.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be wearable art in a t-shirt that will again be a fundraising endeavor for Craig Kulig Memorial Fund and cancer research.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, take us on a little tour around your studio. Show us what you have there. And are things going to disappear from your walls pretty soon?
You know what? When it's their time, I am so letting go of having any expectation. And it's been, yeah, it's been a great thing when you know the right person is coming to collect something that's been waiting for them. Or sometimes it sells right off of my easel, which has happened as well.
Amazing. Okay.
So, well, this is again my trip to Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And listening to the coyotes, if you can see them down there, baying at the moon.
Yes.
Oh, my friend's view. Well, of course, all my puzzles. My work's in Canadian embassies too. So my dear girlfriend from high school has me pillows as well in the Canadian embassies. Yeah, so there's always, well, this will be my penguin series. And strangely, I always sort of put a bit of my own life in here. Recently, well, still in progress, my father-in-law down in Costa Rica, we've got to get him. He's had some pretty serious health issues. So all 5 of his children went down to Costa Rica. So there they are.
Oh.
Yeah. To collect dear Roy, who always asks about my art. He's my biggest fan. So yeah, this is a little diptych of fishers that I photographed, and my little wall of smalls. My black church. It's not every.
This is the one that you were talking about finding a quiet place.
That's the quiet place. Yeah,
Sure.
which is hard for me to leave that quiet. But this was a reject idea for a commission that my client, she picked a fjord, which was a beautiful painting, which you can see on my Instagram. Oh, and then a client, the children of a client asked me to do her cane, so I did another one. If you're going to do one, might as well do 2. Yes. Oh, and these are my prayers too. And this was about ego and self. These tondos.
What's a tondo?
These are circular, rotundo, painting in the round.
Okay.
So even when the light goes off at night, they literally are a light source on their own. But yeah, yeah, I'm going to be doing more of these circles. They just calm me down. So that's sort of where I'm at. Oh, yes. So that this is if children come, if they bring me a drawing, I will give them some of my art. So I encourage everyone to make art. And then Brain Pickings Weekly. I don't know if you follow them. It's a weekly newsletter now called the Margilinian. Wonderful books. Anyway, The Shadow Elephant is the most beautiful story about being okay with sad. Phenomenal illustrations. And melancholy is okay. I wish people wouldn't give it such a bad rap, right? So I find great and peace in this space. No question about it.
I'm learning that melancholy and sad is okay. I'm learning that
Yeah,
slowly.
embrace it instead of being afraid or fixing it,
Or
right? Oh,
thinking it's wrong, thinking it's not normal.
validate it. It's all really, all emotions are okay. Yeah, we need to understand that.
I agree. And thank you for bringing that up as well. Do you have a favorite color?
Well, I said cerulean blue, turquoise. Oh, and then of course pink is unconditional love, which is in the card I did for my mom. Strangely, again, pink in here too. This is the painting I did for my dad when he passed. Um, and he passed, oh gosh, 3 winters ago, December. This is the painting I did for Craig, which hangs in the Ottawa Hospital Oncology Department. Really tough to do. And there is a painting in here that I did for my mom as well. There it is. So there's my mom in the sky.
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful.
Right? But
Yeah.
that's my mom. So pink is unconditional love. Turquoise is very spiritual. Uh, yeah. And beauty, yeah, abounds.
This
Just mix everything and yeah, find what you like.
My favorite color is green. Always has been. Ever since I've known color, my favorite
Oh,
color's been green, unquestioningly.
well, then Gustav's cat is the puzzle for you.
I know there's a lot of green in that. Yeah, my mom was a painter as well, as is her cousin in Boston. You could see behind me. I've got that Faneuil Hall Marketplace, which is quite vibrant. Carol Carney. She's a well-known watercolorist in Boston. So
Oh, that's a tough medium. Good for her.
yes,
Very unforgiving watercolor.
it is. It is. Darlene, is there anything else you would like our listeners and viewers to know about you, your work, your life?
But lighten up, have fun, be grateful, all that stuff that we keep hearing all the time, but it's a practice. It's really a good, yeah, and making stuff, whatever. Just make something, even do a puzzle. Yeah.
Even do a puzzle. Come visit me.
Yeah.
I'll
You know
do.
what? One person working on a puzzle, it tends to attract another person, and then you're connected. It's a good way around the holidays too, which can be a little tricky to just get everyone working together on something.
Yeah, yes, and make sure that you are working with people who can work together. Some people get very competitive. Well, that can be fun too.
Oh, puzzles show you a lot about people for sure.
They do. Darlene, will you come visit me in Colorado sometime?
You bet. I'm there
And I want to come visit you in Canada.
anytime. We're 10 minutes from the airport. I'll come and pick you up.
Oh, wonderful. Darlene, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. I will look forward to sharing your work with others. And once I get the videos done of me doing this puzzle and with Nadine doing her puzzle, I'll get them up too, and I'll attach that to this. And I'm just looking forward to
Thank
sharing this. And
Thank you, Laurel. It was my absolute pleasure. And yeah, piece by piece, wonderful read. Yeah, we're all making things, right? It's a good place.
it is a very good place. Bringing beautiful, whimsical, fun, lighthearted, wonderful art to the world in its many forms. Darlene, keep painting, keep being awesome, and I look forward to our continued friendship.
Absolutely. Thank you, Laurel.